All right, everybody, welcome back. Sam's Army, episode 2.223. We got a lot to talk about this week. We're going to start out with headlines, where we'll talk Tottenham and Saudi League. Weekly What If, we'll stick on the Saudi League theme. Then Women's World Cup. We got the timing of this is really unfortunate. The women's U.S. women play in a few hours. But we're going to lay out the permutations. We'll go over the New Netherlands game real quick, and then maybe some predictions. Round the world, we got Leagues Cup observations, and then stoppage time with Ivan Toney's best bets, and everyone's favorite segment, GOAWs. And then stay tuned for a fun chat with Drake Callender, who is Inter Miami's GK1 and consequently right in the middle of Messi mania at the moment. So we talk about how, his life has changed, what Messi and Busquets have been like, and, how Drake has managed to stay sort of focused on soccer throughout the circus that he's, it's going on around him. Now it's time to welcome in these beauties, a distinguished panel of beauties. It's good to see some familiar faces. Good to see you guys back together again. A Tweedle heavy contingent, I will say, but can't have everything. So first up, we got Tweedle number one, Mitchell Goulet, aka Overtime Mitch, you've managed to duck this question for a few weeks given your travel schedule, but I'm glad to have you here as a captive audience, or at least co-host member. So you voted for Tyler when I put up a story saying who drove the ball the furthest. Tommy, my guy over here, won some brownie points and voted for me. You voted for Tyler. So number one, how dare you? And number two, what was wrong with my swing? Why'd you go to Tyler?
I voted Tyler because he felt a little more athletic in his swing. I know that you got your dad's strength, and I definitely took that into account. But Tyler's a little lankier, it looked, and his swing looked a little more fluid. So I think his carried about, I don't know, 340, 350, and you're what, around that 320 mark?
Wow. Yeah, about that. Maybe take 100 off of both of those. You got a few brownie points there, though. Okay, well done. I will say, I'm just going to point this out and definitely piss off some golf people. Just because you got a good golf swing, that's not athleticism. That's a golf swing. It's different, right? Am I wrong on that?
It's like a square is a rectangle, or rectangle's not a square kind of thing. Like it helps to be athletic and have a good golf swing.
That's true. That's true. I'm being defensive over here. Don't mind me.
Understood.
Next up, we got Tweedle number two, Tommy McGunner. So someone posted a picture of you playing the other day. I don't know if it was Twitter or Threads, and tagged me in it. Have you ever? That's obviously online, but in real life at stadiums, have you ever caught like anybody? Has anybody ever said anything to you from the stands, or maybe given you some shit? Opposing fans. Have you ever gotten any sort of feedback from fans about Sam's Army while you've been out there playing?
No, I don't think so. Definitely not during a game because I'm usually in the middle of the field, so people's voice don't carry that far, or I'm just don't listen. Yeah, that's a good question. Maybe after the game, maybe. And like, there's some people that like when they say something, it's like comes along the same line of like banter that this is.
Yeah.
So in the back of my head, I'm like, yeah, maybe they do listen, or something like that, but not off the top of my head. No one's come up to me and say, "Hey, you're absolutely shit when you come on and hop on the podcast." So I haven't gotten that yet.
Now, the reason I actually bring this up is because I'm basically using this as like a jumping off point for listeners to start giving you shit at game, or maybe bring like a cardboard sign saying, asking if you've like caught a wave yet on a surfboard. Just something. We got to start getting in Tommy's brain.
Yeah, that would be fun.
From the opposing fans. All right. Finally, last but never least, Mikey Podcast, who is knee deep in wedding season right now, but that's not actually related to what I'm gonna ask you about here. So a couple weeks ago, you basically said, you know what, somebody random on Twitter invited me to come to the All-Star game. I don't think I'm gonna do it. And then the next day, I saw a picture of you in like the front row at the All-Star game. Give us the lowdown on how the experience was.
Listener of the podcast, LD, sent a tweet or he DM'd Zana and said, "Listen, I got these like crazy sideline seats for the All-Star game. his mom works in ticketing or something. It was his birthday, and a couple friends bailed out because they had a wedding that night. So he wanted to know if I wanted to come, and I just got on an Amtrak and did it. So I don't know if you saw the seats; they were like insanely on the sideline of the stadium next to Noah Beck. Shout out! I was so nervous to ask him for a picture, but I did it. Really awesome experience. Shout out LD and shout out Sam's Army helping me get hooked up with quite a few soccer trips in the last year.
Yeah, well, good. I thought you weren't gonna go, and then I saw a picture of you basically on the
I
as you
wasn't gonna
said,
go.
on the field.
I thought I was gonna get killed. Thought I was gonna be skinned alive, but it was actually a great time.
And he wasn't a murderer at all. So shout out
Not
to
a
LD.
murderer at all.
All right, cool. All right, move on. We move on. Sam's Army bringing people together, friends being friends. I love it. Headlines time. Joe Lewis, who is the owner of Tottenham. So he got in big trouble last week. He was charged with insider trading, in which he stands accused of handing out stock tips about privileged non-public information, kind of like candy, almost literally. I mean, like he gave them out to his pilots. He gave them out to the people on, it was his girlfriends. They kept saying like paramours and using all these synonyms. I mean, he's got hoes in different area codes, and he was like basically giving out, stock tips to him. Shout out to Joe Lewis on that one. But it sounded like basically, you take his bag, the bellhop takes his bag up to like a hotel room, and he doesn't hand you 20. He like tells you, there's a biotech firm.
Well, it's
like
called a tip for a reason.
It is a tip. So maybe he was confused. But basically, it begs the question, and Mitch, I think you can go first on this one. Is Joe Lewis a better owner or inside trader?
It doesn't sound like he's good at either. I feel like inside trading is the point of inside trading is that you keep it inside your little circle. It sounds like he was passing these out to just about anybody who would listen.
Exactly. It sounds like he's
final answer. He sucks at both.
Right. I think that's pretty much it. He's bad at both.
I would say the opposite. I think he loves the club so much that he understands that his wealth has limitations. So he's doing something to get himself removed while being a Robin Hood to the people so that the Saudis can come by Tottenham and you guys can find some success. So I think he's got Tottenham's best interests in mind. And this is a good move in order to get success to the club.
Wow.
Big brain conclusion.
Mikey, big brain and also very optimistic.
A modern day Robin Hood.
A modern day
Mind the trading pun.
So I guess that is the segue to my next question. There's all sorts of this set off all sorts of rampant speculation about what it would mean for the club, what it meant for Harry Kane, et cetera, et cetera. Anybody, Tommy, you got any sort of hot take predictions for how you see this playing out?
No. There's nothing. Yeah, there is no type of hot take within 200 miles of Spurs and Spurs ownership right now. So
I'll ask this: do you have any insider trade?
But also, I think that's
I'm all ears. Okay, so he's got a tip. I'm all ears.
I heard Jay-Z was looking to indulge in a little soccer club. He sees everybody else hopping on the wave of football club ownership.
And actually, I will say it's primed for an American owner with like the concert series, the NFL. There, like it just screams some sort of high level American owner coming in.
Yeah,
that's not the club that I figured Jay-Z would buy, though. I'm not sure what it is, but it just doesn't feel like it aligns with him.
It does feel like we're not quite cool enough, which
you'd have to be associated with Arsenal for that.
No, you guys are just as nerdy as we are. But Jay-Z does have sort of that Rock Nation thing, and they're already getting knee deep in soccer, although I don't know what the implications would be there. I suppose there'd be some sort of Chinese wall or something, but yeah, I guess it'd be interesting. I like Mikey's idea, and I put an Instagram post out on it that, this somehow ends up with, us getting our very own, chic. That would be okay. Listen, it's the way of the world these days. it's just what happens. Speaking of sheiks, let's go to the next one. So maybe this is just me. And so if it is, fine, I'll own it. But the news today that the Saudi League, specifically Al Fatah, came in and bought Lucas Zelarayan from Columbus, it just sort of felt to me like I don't know, like I don't know if it's a turning point or like the straw that broke the camel's back or what, but it just felt like a little too close to home, right? When they're rating Chelsea and they're rating Liverpool and they're overpaying for sort of players at the end of their career, that's one thing. But when you come into our backyard and take, a guy that won MLS MVP just a couple years ago, that felt personal. I guess is what I'm trying to say. And I don't like it. I do not like it. I've sort of been, I don't know, ambivalent, agnostic, whatever about this whole situation. But this buying Zelarayan from Columbus, I'm now anti. I'm against whatever this is going on here. Unless the PIF decides to throw you. Listen, we're looking for a title sponsor of Sam's Army. I can be bought real cheap. So MBS, if you're listening, I don't know. Am I the only one that felt like this just sort of was different, or I don't know.
I think a player that is great in a major city like, say, Los Angeles or New York is just as valuable to a Saudi team as a prime player from one of the other leagues, just in terms of size and scope. I think this is in one way a Pulisic 70 million pound move in the new wave. This is all about popularity. This is all about market size and market cap and all about what they're looking for in terms of the engine behind, the league purpose. So major players from MLS that have the following built with it of an American audience are very valuable. So this was kind of always the next step. I think it's right one step before one of the major kids that are playing in Europe gets to go over. That's the next obvious step there for the American market and the conquering of that. So I wasn't surprised whatsoever. American players have more value based on the fans and where they live geographically than most of the other leagues.
The dollar per sports wash probably.
Yeah, honestly, it's more efficient.
Exactly.
Agreed.
Yeah, what are you buying? Lucas Zelarayan with the Columbus Crew audience and fan base baked in, or Lucas Zelarayan straight out of South America with at a less established league with a lower level of competition? In a way, it's a little legitimizing for MLS. I know that's not actually like a bright spot from this whole thing, but it is, you don't see them rating other leagues like that. And I do not think this is going to be the last MLS transfer to Saudi League that we see.
Probably not. I mean, listen, they've got funny money and they are willing to spend it. Mikey brings up an interesting point. Do you think that one of our, USMNT sort of star boys will end up there?
Absolutely.
Really? Before the World Cup, like sort of in the run up to the World Cup?
No,
you can do 2 years now.
that would be so politicized. I feel like
you would have to have your ducks in a row, all your ducks in a row from a PR perspective if you did that.
Yeah,
it's Weston McKinney.
I don't see that happening for
Weston.
It's either you have all your ducks in a row or you act impulsively and have bad guidance.
At the end of the day, you're just choosing your PR path. You're either going high or low, and you can lean into either of them. So if you really want to be a PR sweetheart, then you do that. You get your ducks in a row. But if you just want to cause chaos, be the first American to go transfer over to the Saudi League for millions and gazillions of dollars. Fucking do it.
Man, that would be some shit. Mikey's saying yes.
Tell you that's happening.
Tommy's saying Mikey's saying hard yes. Tommy's sort of saying no. Mitch,
it'll happen
before the World Cup.
I'm not going to speculate on who it'll be. I don't think it'll be somebody that's already established within our fan base. I think it needs to be someone super, super young, 17, 18, 19-year-olds that has not made any, headway into U.S. men's national team starting lineup, but it'll happen within a year.
Wow.
Within a year.
That's interesting. That is interesting. That is something I will be keeping an eye on. I think we all will. All right. Well, we're not even getting rid of the Saudi League theme here. So we're going to the weekly what if time and staying on the same topic. So if MBS were to hypothetically announce plans to play a Saudi League All-Star game in your hometown next year, would you buy a ticket and go?
100% yes.
Would be, yeah. I
I mean, I'm super interested in studying the body language of these individuals and their motivation and fitness. I'm dead serious. I want to see just how much they all like
think he's rolling up with
know.
it in the book.
No, I mean, like they must be just like the most aware of how ridiculous this is. Individuals in the world, they must just be juggling for warm ups. Like, I really want to see it. I really want to see how involved these players are.
So you're basically assuming that you're going to see some sort of like, deadness
It'd
behind
be
their
like
eyes.
it'd be like watching the XFL for like the 1 year it's alive. Like whoever took, like I just want to see what's going on. It's super interesting to me.
Yeah. Do you think the Saudi League is alive and well by the time this All-Star game comes to your city?
Right.
Who are they
Alive and
playing? Are
well
they
or-
playing against like my hometown MLS team? Are they playing against New England Revolution, or are they playing against like MLS All Stars?
No, I was thinking like intra Saudi League
Oh.
All-Star. So like not if it's MLS, you're basically getting a green light from like MLS.
Right.
They're going to take the heat. Now, if you
Oh,
go
but
to
you're saying
yeah,
just Saudi League.
just Saudi League, and
Yeah.
at this point, they got enough guys. They could easily make a 22 that would be compelling. Yeah, I don't think I would. I don't know.
Compelling's a good word for it. Yeah.
Compelling. That's what we're looking at. All right, that's never gonna happen though, for many reasons. So we'll move on. Women's World Cup time. So the U.S. women, we are now sitting on 4 points after 2 games. I would just sort of say the team feels like it hasn't gotten out of second gear at this point. So we beat Vietnam in a game that I called what was it? Dominating and yet disappointing, because our finishing was absolutely shit. Then the Netherlands
cover.
Then the Netherlands, yeah. Listen, our finishing was just absolutely terrible that game. Netherlands, it was a different game. We kind of looked like, I don't know, lethargic in the first half. Maybe give some Netherlands some credit there. Second half was better. We gave up a goal in the first half. Second half was better. I'm basically giving most of the credit to Rose Lavelle. So she seemed to sort of change things. So we got an equalizer from Lindsey Horan, which is one of the cooler situations of the World Cup, which I'm going to save for the moment because somebody's going to bring that up in GOAWs. But that her goal was, and the situation surrounding it was awesome. Shout out to Lindsey Horan for that. Horan staying over here. But like I said, this team has not gotten out of second gear yet, and we're two games into the tournament. We now face Portugal tonight. And tonight being Monday night, and I put that in air quotes because it's actually like a 2 a.m. kickoff on Tuesday morning. So that's just going to be absolutely brutal. But having said all that, any thoughts on sort of where we stand right now, sort of where we go from here, how the team's looking? What do you think, Mitch?
The lack of substitutes in that Dutch game was the thing that stood out to me the most. Using one of your 5 available subs in a 1-1 draw on paper doesn't look good, and in the game it didn't look good either. We put out some stat. We put out the same lineup for the first time in 2 group stage games back to back since '99, I want to say. And Lynn Williams hasn't seen the field yet. Alyssa Thompson's seen 15 minutes in that Vietnam game. I don't know. You're only guaranteed 3 matches at this World Cup, and it hasn't felt like we've taken each match it's by itself. It feels like we are, like you said, stuck in second gear, coasting to the knockout stages, and then hopefully we can turn it up. But like, we're not guaranteed knockout stages. There's a little voice in the back of my head saying what if about tonight/tomorrow morning's game. And I'm a little nervous at the, I don't know, static nature of the team.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Like I'm not gonna say we're playing poorly or that I don't believe in this team, but it does not have the same dominating and rah-rah American feeling as the last World Cup team or the one before that.
And it's not surprising, right? Because we're in this
Oh.
transitional period where, it's a lot of the players who we associate with the US women's national team and sort of winning everything. A lot of those players are moving on. There's still some there. That's why it's transitional. And we still have, we got some kids that are moving in. But that, it's still the women's national team though, right? So like they definitely come in with the confidence of, you know, we can beat anybody on our day, which I think is probably true. But as you said, it's like there's a little thought, there's just a small thought in the back of my brain that if we lose to Portugal tonight, we could not make the knockouts. Like America could wake up tomorrow, and that's when people would normally start to really get into it, like into the Women's World Cup. Like we take the knockouts for granted because the team's so good that we just sort of, like, a lot of fans, they'll get into it as soon as, like, the knockouts hit, and they could wake up tomorrow when the knockouts would be starting, or at least closer to when they're starting, and we could be out. It's a possibility. Portugal is not this isn't some sort of totally useless team, although we have dominated them in the past. I saw the stats and it was ridiculous. Like,
And they didn't look good against the Dutch. They did not look like a cohesive unit against the Dutch. So I'm not going to say that we're not the favorites in this upcoming game, but there's that little voice.
Fair. Slightly nervous, just somewhere in the back of my mind. I do think that we win it, but here's the thing about this game coming up tonight / tomorrow morning. Basically, I think it's almost more important for fans than it is for the players. This is assuming we move on, and I say that because the seeding, assuming we move on, the seeding is important for kickoff times from going forward. So I'll read a little something somebody posted on Twitter or something. But if we win the group, this is the women's team. If we win the group, our round of 16 kickoff would be at 10 p.m. Eastern, and our quarterfinal kickoff would be at 9 p.m. Eastern. If we finish second in the group, our round of 16 kickoff would be 5 a.m. and our quarterfinal kickoff would be 3:30 a.m. Which those kickoff times are absolutely brutal. I mean, Central Time, we're talking 4 a.m. and 2:30, which is, that's just nobody. So few people are going to end up watching that game. It just sucks. Whereas if you get kickoffs at 10 p.m. and 9 p.m., I mean, that's very, very doable. So the permutations are, and it basically comes down to, we assume us and Netherlands moving through. Basically, we're both on 4 points. We have them on goal because we tied 1-1 in the game between the two of us, and we have them on goal differential right now by 2 goals. So whatever happens in the Netherlands versus Vietnam game, we're playing Portugal at the same time, so they'll be going in parallel. So if we win by 1 and Netherlands wins by 3, next, I don't know what the next tiebreaker is. Like yellow cards, maybe. I mean, I have no idea what they go to. Goals scored, whatever. Basically, math comes into it. If they win by 2 more goals, then we beat Portugal. So we just got to go out there and spank Portugal. I hope we do it. Next, by the way, not just sort of the kickoff times. Obviously, that's a selfish way to look at it, but it also matters for who we play in the next round. So we're matched up. Group E is who we're in. We're matched up with Group G. Group G is Sweden, Italy, South Africa, Argentina. So right now it sort of looks like Sweden and Italy will be moving through. Sweden, is historically the strongest team in that group. They did just beat Italy. I thought it was a close game. It ended up being 3-0. All 3 goals were on, set pieces. But both those teams will be, no pushover. But I do think you probably want to, face Italy if you have your choice of the bunch. So that's the situation we're looking at. The game again is just it's a brutal kickoff time, 2 or 2:30 Central Time tonight. I'll probably be waking up for it, but I know a lot of people probably won't. So hopefully we all wake up tomorrow and we can all start getting into the World Cup, and the casual fans come into it, and we get, we really get this bandwagon rolling. And to do that, we really got to not lose tonight. There we go. We'll move on. Quick question though. who among the other teams has actually, because there's some teams that I've been a little impressed by. And coming into this, I may not have thought, okay, that's one of the teams I could say doing some damage in this tournament. So what's a team for you guys that stands out as, maybe somebody to just keep an eye on?
Colombia.
You got that
Here, that goal is as good as I've seen.
Linda
Yeah,
Caicedo.
that goal was outrageous.
That's
Goal of the tournament so far. Linda Caicedo, 2 man of the matches in
Yeah.
the only 2 games. She's what, 18?
And last second,
She had she had a serious health scare between both games.
Yeah, she passed out. They said it was just
Yeah.
pass out, but yeah, anytime that happens, you're obviously
video, but it's crazy.
kind of nervous about it. And Colombia, they just beat Germany on like a buzzer beater too. So they kind of got, they got a little Momo going. So Colombia's a good shout. I would say, I mean, like I talked about this last week with Jeff Attinella. We were both impressed by Japan last week, and they looked even better more recently. Like the game against Spain, who was supposed to be the heavyweight in the group, although granted, we talked about this in the preview, they were missing a bunch of players because of the rift between players and coach, but they still have a serious team there. And Japan, it was just like every time they touched the ball in the attacking third, they scored. Like almost legitimately, that's the truth. Like they had 3 touches, I think, in the box, in Spain's box, and they had 3 goals at halftime. That's incredible. Like Spain had 70-something% of the possession. It was like tiki taka, crossed with Arsenal, where you just like don't even take shots and don't ever score. I'm sure Mikey would have had nightmares and PTSD watching that game. So shout out Japan. They look good, and I think they actually had that. I think they're a force. They could win this tournament. Anybody else? Any other standouts at all?
Who does Germany play next? We got a bold prediction from Heather O'Reilly on a red carpet about 2-3 weeks ago, saying Germany was going to crash out of the group stage.
Wow,
I mean, their first game was 6-0, so I'm not sure how likely it is now, but
they just lost. They did lose to Colombia, right? And now they play South Korea, who I don't really know as much about them. They haven't been doing very well in this tournament, so it would be a hell of a disappointment, kind of like the U.S. I mean, it'd be a hell of a disappointment if we didn't move on. But Germany did have that wobble. They lost to Zambia in the sort of friendly, send off.
Oh, right before the tournament started.
Right before the tournament. So they had a little wobble there.
Sam, I'll bring one thing up that I've been interested in. I saw Katie McCabe's silence tweet, or lip sealed tweet about the Ireland women's national team. She suggested mid-match changes to the coach very publicly on the sideline, and was ignored. And in the post-match interview, the coach said it's not the player's job to make substitutions. It's very disrespectful. And Katie McCabe, after one point in the World Cup campaign, just tweeted a silent lip sealed emoji. Very public fight. Very interesting stuff coming out of that camp.
Well, I know that they've been eliminated, at this point. So, there's probably some emotions are running hot at this point. But yeah, you don't hear that a lot. All right, we will move on. Just let's wake up tomorrow when everybody starts listening to this, and there's no way we crash out. No way. Just banish the thought. Don't even put it out in the universe. Round the world time. Leagues Cup. So 2 things to say about Leagues Cup. Number 1, I've been pleasantly surprised by just sort of the entertainment value that I've seen from this new tournament. We didn't know what was going on with it. Didn't know if teams were going to try. Didn't know if they were going to play their starters. I'm sure they were catching some heat from up top to make sure they did, but still, number 1, I've just been pleasantly surprised by how entertaining the competition has been. Number 2, Leagues Cup is going to put my kids, Leagues Cup overs, excuse me, is going to put my kids through college at this rate. Like, not every game, but I've been picking and choosing here and there, and man, hot, hot like I'm normally cold. As cold as I normally am, I'm that hot right now. In Columbus, America, right now, they just got their 4th goal. That's we're drinking top shelf tonight. Pacifico is going down smooth. So I got Modelo. Listen, you're on the Mexican beer train too. I like that, Mikey. But point being, I'm pleasantly surprised by what's going on with the League's Cup so far. What are you guys thinking about the competition?
I need some explaining on the Chicago Fire offside call that happened about 10 minutes ago. One of the
I'm
most
getting notifications and I'm trying to watch your face the entire time.
I'm driving myself fucking crazy here. I don't understand how this didn't work. I think the refereeing has been a little bit suspect based on my small sample size here. No, I think it's an amazing tournament. I really do enjoy the off-season competition. It spices things up more than just betting regular MLS for neutral fans watching or trying to get their fix in. This is very interesting and a new, unique tournament. So I think these weeks before everything comes back, if this can be dedicated to when we do this kind of tournament, I think there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. And I thought it's been good. It's lived up to the hype. Except stop listing the home teams as the away teams. That's fucking me up.
You just
Yeah,
took
they
my
need to
pet
start
peeve.
playing some of these games in Mexico, and this level will go through the roof.
Agreed.
Yes. That's exactly what I tweeted out. Is that, like, I'm loving this, but if we're gonna really make this like a real tournament, a real competition, and you want fans to respect it, then you have to play games in Mexico. Like, it's ridiculous. I know that, and not only that, but then listing the Mexican teams as being at home. Like, Puebla is playing in Chicago at Soldier Field as we speak right now, and Puebla is listed as the home team. I mean, come on, that's a bridge too far for me. Like, I can't even get on board with that. You got to play games in Mexico, and I know why they didn't. It's money. It's purely about money, which is probably what this tournament is all about at the end of the day. But if we want to go past that, if we want to make it sort of about more than money and make it a tournament that people care about and a competition players want to win, fans, if we win, we'll talk shit to other fans because that's the whole fucking point of sports. We gotta play games in Mexico. Just has to happen.
Sam's Army is the podcast of transcending football capitalism. I love it. This feels like step 2 of the efforts of MLS and Liga MX to create kind of like synergy between the fan bases. Step 1 was a few years ago when they had MLS All-Stars play Liga MX All-Stars, and they had friendlies scattered here and there throughout the schedule. But now they've put stakes and they've made it kind of the only thing to watch for a casual fan. I think it's been really, really good. Step 3, though, is you're right. Go play games in Mexico.
I think it's actually we're on to like step 3 or 4 at this point, because they have those competitions, right? They had, I think it was even called Leagues Cup or something, but it was like 2 teams.
I don't even remember what they were called at this point. They were just that. They were competitions, and they didn't really feel like they had any stakes.
Exactly. And if you want this to be that, like, if you want this to have sort of some gravitas and some, like, some meaning behind it, you can't have sort of this huge asterisk where the Mexican teams have to travel around the US for a month playing. The team, if whoever wins this will have played for a month, and the Mexican teams will not have gone home for that entire month. That stinks. It also stinks for Mexican fans, right? I mean, like, they I guess you could take a vacation up here, but everybody should have the chance to see games. So I think we're all on the same page. Play some games in Mexico.
Damn, you're cutting in and out pretty bad.
Damn, your Wi-Fi's pretty bad, buddy.
All right. Apparently my internet is effing up like the good old days where the internet was always giving me problems. But hopefully my little spiel basically saying that, if we really want to make Leagues Cup a thing, they got to start playing games in Mexico came through. And we'll move on. Stoppage time. We will start with Ivan Toney's best bets. And I'm just going to say this. Overtrain is cooking. It is cooking, boys and girls. I not only just Leagues Cup, but like, I'm cooking everywhere at this point. So last week I gave out America versus St. Louis City. I said over, take it, that hit, boom, 4-0, I think was the final score. Then the second game I gave out, remember there's two of them because I was starting to feel a little antsy, starting to feel a little good about myself. Second game, RFS versus FK Tukums 2000. That's right, FK Tukums 2000 in the Latvian, whatever they call the Latvian league over there. That game ended 7-1. 7-1, people. Just handing out winners, handing them out. So of course we're gonna stay hot. We're gonna stay on the overs train. But I'm gonna throw it to you guys first. I don't want to give away. We'll save mine for the end, for the culmination. Who wants to go first on this week's Ivan Toney's best bet?
I'll go first because I have the least amount of confidence, or compared to you, I guess. A humble parlay. We're not going crazy because I am not on the winning streak that Sam is right now. Colombia spread and England money line. You got both of those games are going out tomorrow. Sorry, Morocco, Colombia is on the 3rd, but I like England money line against China, and Colombia, as we've established, has impressed. I think they beat Morocco by at least two. At least two. Take a -2.5 if you're really feeling froggy.
Okay, I like it. Who else? Who wants to go next?
I'll go. The two games outside of I'll stay away from the Women's World Cup if you guys are going to bet that. Outside of that tournament that I'm interested in watching are Leagues Cup, Inter Miami, Orlando, just because of Messi, and then Arsenal, Man City in the Community Shield. And I'm going to go homer for both of them. Parlay Inter Miami and Arsenal to win, and probably over in both of those games.
Okay. All right. I don't know what the odds are, but it's probably a nice little.
There's nothing there's nothing scientific about it. I haven't looked at a single number. Just purely based on emotion. That's the way things should be.
That's sometimes the best way to do it. Mikey's emotions right now are nothing but anger. And Chicago Fire somehow not winning.
I need a friend who gives me winners. That's all.
I told you over.
Ludogorets Razgrad to not get out of their Champions League qualification game tomorrow afternoon is one that I'm fairly certain of. And I think FK Molde, the Norwegian club, are hosting HJK from Finland. They're down a goal to nil on Wednesday. I have them getting through that as well. So those are my two qualification games. Those games are a lot of fun. Those sneaky bad team qualification games in Europe. I really quite enjoy them. There's been some hilarious ones, like the Faroe Islands Club. I chased that the wrong way all the way into debt. When you just get crazy upsets, teams have the ball for 80% of the game and get caught on 3 counters. So a lot of fun to watch those games. Stay involved during the weekdays with those.
Yeah, nice little, afternoon, Tuesday, Wednesday, even Thursday these days.
And there's like 70 of them.
Yeah, right. Because these are your, first of all, it's Champions League qualification, it's Europa Conference League qualification. And basically, if you finished in the top 4 of whatever country league you play in, like you were qualified for like Conference League qualification.
You get some no bios on FootMob, which is always my favorite.
Right, which is tough to do, which would be, you absolutely do, and you're right.
I have a question for Tommy.
Yeah.
When does FootMob ask you to fill out your own thing? Because I see a lot of guys put preferred foot both, and I know for a fact that they don't. I'm wondering if they increase their value.
I have never gotten anything from them.
Interesting.
Yours says both, though, right?
I think it does.
We're gonna look it up.
We're gonna look it up in lifetime.
Yep.
I have a faint recollection of Mikey bringing this up on a previous podcast at some point episode when you mentioned that Tommy's listed as both.
It no longer has both listed for Tommy.
It removed my left foot, even though my left foot's gotten more use. So
they have no respect. Okay, go on. Tommy's taller than 5'10".
All right, so here's the best bet. I'm just giving out one, so I feel really good about it, given sort of the success we've been building up lately. I'm just going with one. Bundesliga 2 is back. and there are so many goals in Bundesliga 2. If you're an over better and you aren't betting Bundesliga 2, you're doing it wrong. So this weekend, you probably go down the list, and there's probably like a handful, if not more, of games that are just absolute candy, just candy waiting to be taken. I'm going with Karlsruhe hosting Hamburger because these teams, man, first of all, Hamburger, great name, number one.
You say that so unbelievably. You saying that with your shirt on is
so American.
Is abstract art.
My brother,
Hamburger.
my brother, who is like a professional abstract artist, would probably. I'm gonna have to tell him to watch this, and he'll get a little kick out of that.
I would like your brother.
you probably would. So I'm going with Hamburg. I don't know what the fuck you pronounce it. Hamburger. I'm going Hamburger at Karlsruhe. Like they're coming off games where Hamburg was 1-5-3, Karlsruhe won 3-2. I mean, I might even knock this up to over 3.5. If you're feeling real spicy, you could maybe do over 4.5 with just a little sprinkle on top of it, a little dessert on top of your main course. There's goals galore in this, and I'm staking my name on it. So let's go, Karlsruhe and Hamburg. Now we move on to everybody's favorite segment. It's GOAWs time. Who wants to go first? I feel like Mitch is looking at me like he's ready.
Yeah, and I got a couple. I know you mentioned Lindsey Horan. I'm going to let you tell that story. She's a go for all of us for that. I love Christine Sinclair, who is likely hanging him up after Canada's been eliminated from this Women's World Cup. She has been the most notable Canadian women's player by a country mile for a long time. She's had a hell of a career. Should be celebrated. And then I also like John Tolkien for a number of reasons. One, he's my boy. Two, funniest kid or player I've ever had the pleasure of interviewing. He played in the MLS All-Star game that Mikey sat courtside for, and I jealously looked down at from my section in the nosebleeds. But he played in that game. He had a little tiff with Marquinhos, and about it afterwards, and he was like, yeah, I don't know what his issue was. I don't know if I have beef with Marquinhos now or what. I'm just trying to get out there and have fun. And he has slipped and fallen into some beef with an international winger, which I absolutely love. He's had a good couple of games over this past Leagues Cup campaign, thinking he's going to find his way onto a U.S. men's national team roster for like Gold Cup Nations League coming up. And he's one of the most exciting left backs we have. He's good going forward. He's good defensively, and he's just an all around good vibes guy. So I'm buying stock in John Tolkien. He's a good kid.
Good one. That's a good one. I've always been really interested in him because I don't know him. I haven't interviewed him like you have, so you sort of known him personally. He's oftentimes has a very loud haircut, which
so I asked him about that. And he says he just likes changing his hairstyle up. He says it's a good way to express himself. I asked him what he has in store for us in the future. He said he was not at liberty to tell me, but I'm really looking forward to some of the crazier shit that he's got planned.
Okay, I like it. I just remember when the Red Bulls came to Soldier Field and they played Chicago Fire, it was just his haircut, nothing else. I don't think he had done something to any players. I'm sure he hadn't said something in the lead up, but every time he touched the ball, they started booing him. It was just his haircut. It was just like, okay, I respect you for having a haircut so hateable, even though it wasn't that hateable. It was just like a blonde mohawk. It was, it is what it is. Okay, Mikey, who you got?
Diego Godin retired this week. I don't know if I ever expressed my love for him publicly, but I do. I was an admirer of his shithouse.
I was gonna say,
and
yeah,
I think at his peak there were very few. I won't say there weren't better, but there were very few better at doing that job for a team that plays that way and a manager that plays that way. You have to respect a guy who absolutely mastered the craft and deserves the respect. That Uruguay team is really night and day with him on the pitch versus him not on the pitch. Another one, Daniel Van de Donk. love of my life, and also fouled 8 times against the United States. Never seen a number higher than that in my entire life. Very proud of her actions in that one. And lastly, I have a weird one for everybody, but I've been watching the Saudi League for quite a while, few years,
Since
probably
when?
4 or 5 now, 10 a.m. Watching as in following. And I just need to point out to people that after all this influx of money, the surest bet in the world will be that the most valuable player at the end of next season will still be Ever Banega, who has been secretly ripping that league apart for the better half of a decade. And I just need everybody to understand he is still doing it. If you see him on the pitch at some point this fall, just know that he's been there secretly doing his thing for a long fucking time. So for all you new Saudi fans, Ever Banega is still doing it and is still the most classy midfielder that Unai Emery wants at his club. So there's my go wrap up for this week.
Mikey being a secret long-time Saudi League fan is like the most, Mikey thing in the world. So yeah, I accept and appreciate you, Mikey, for you being yourself. And the fact that Diego Simeone or Godin he just basically, he is what Atletico Madrid under Diego Simeone was all about. And he is what that Uruguay team was all about too. He like something about it, maybe it's his personality, whatever. He just like he characterized those teams. So shout out to him.
Agreed. Could not agree more.
Tommy, who you got for us?
I would say the preseason friendlies that came over to the US, and not like your classic like Madrid, Barca, Man U, Arsenal, all those. I really enjoyed seeing teams like Brighton, Brentford, Fulham, Aston Villa come over,
Wrexham,
Crystal Palace, Wrexham. Like that was, I think, more exciting to see, and I really enjoyed watching those games. So couple that with some of these League Cups game in the past week or so, plus the Women's World Cup. It is my go is an appreciation for the financial powers putting on entertaining games when there are no entertaining sports on in the middle of July, early August, and they're actually entertaining. So
that's a good one. And you're right. There's been a lot of sort of just entertaining soccer going on. So shout out to the powers that be, the people with the money making it happen. So my GOAWs, I got a whole handful of them, but the GOAW we're gonna get to that one. A couple honorable mentions first. Kylian Mbappe's agent for including a $66 million loyalty bonus in the contract that he signed last summer, such that he will be paid today $66 million, and tomorrow he can go sign for the Saudi League and still get paid that $66 million loyalty bonus. So well done to Kylian Mbappe's agent. Fabinho's Frenchies, his French Bulldogs, who, apparently, according to, Daily Mail or one of those, rags, said that his Frenchies were potentially going to, ruin his deal to whichever Saudi League team was buying Fabinho, which I think it just went through officially, which I assume means that, he must have gotten the thumbs up on the Frenchies. But apparently not just Frenchies, but basically dogs are frowned upon in Saudi Arabian society. I think that's probably way too blanket a statement. I don't know if that's actually true, but but I think it's like that's just what I read. I don't know. I'm not saying that that's an absolute fact. You might want to Google it. But what I did read is that his Frenchies might screw up the deal of Fabinho to Saudi Arabia. Apparently they didn't, but they came close. So to shout out to them. Shout out, honorable mention to the BBC Big J, who asked the Moroccan women's team's captain if any of her teammates are gay, since it's illegal in Morocco to be gay. Like, what do you think her answer is going to be, my man? Like, come on. Just think, like, I understand, like, you're so keyed in on like the culture wars element of this, But yeah, what exactly are you? What kind of answers are you expecting from the Moroccan, women's captain to say when you ask her if any of her teammates are gay? When her teammates would then go back to Morocco and apparently, be in serious trouble. But of course, the Goa is, it's Lindsey Horan. Like Mikey tried to soften this with, because it was Van de Dunk, his the love of his internet life, who fouled Lindsey Horan, and Lindsey Horan basically stood up and basically told her to shut the fuck up or something. I don't know exactly what the words that came out of her mouth or what the lip readers saw, but she basically told her to, I think Van de Dunk was complaining about it being a foul or something. Lindsey Horan stood up and said, little person, because she's like 5 inches shorter, she's like, shut the fuck up. She basically Matt Miazga, to Diego Lainez her, and then took another step beyond the Miazga Lainez situation by then immediately scoring the free kick with her head, uh, to equalize the game, and that is just the absolute baller move. Obviously, we've been a pro Haran Stan podcast for several years at this point, and that's not going to change anytime soon. But the fact she basically told Van de Dunk to shut the fuck up and then just scored right in her face. And I know it's pissing Mikey off right now to even be talking about this, is just, it's special. So shout out to Lindsey Horan. Well done. Goa material for sure. Hopefully we get another Goa performance out of her or Rose Lavelle or Lynn Williams or whoever tonight against Portugal. And we all wake up tomorrow and listen to this, and we're all talking about who we're playing in the knockouts. Ideally, Italy. Okay. That's this segment of the episode anyway. Mikey, Tommy, Mitch, you guys are beautiful. You're smart. I really do actually appreciate you guys. Thank you guys for hopping on. It's great to see you again. And everybody, thank you for listening. We are not done though. We're going to send it over to a quick chat with Drake Callender of Inter Miami. Here we go.